Check this out. This is an iOS app and here's the AI agent. And let me ask it, which subscriptions should I cancel? And here's the response. Given your current list, I would cancel in this order. First is Apple Music. You already have Spotify, so this is a duplicated spend. Then OpenAI, because you also pay for Claude, and Claude is your main tool for blog writing. In one of the previous chats, I had told it that I use Claude for blog writing, and hence it is saying you can cancel OpenAI. You can likely keep Claude and Spotify. If you want to cut your bill fast, you can cancel Apple Music plus OpenAI, and you drop from $125 a month directly to $55 a month. And this AI agent, which is sitting inside of our iOS app, is directly finding that data from our app. So these are the subscriptions I have inside of the app, which it looked into to give us the answer. And the thing that might shock you is that this app has been built without writing a single line of code, and this AI agent has been built without writing a single line of code. So hello everyone, my name is Yashica Jain. I am an AI automation expert. My job is to use AI and its applications to make things easier for businesses. And while in one of my latest videos, I had already shown you how you can build an iOS app without coding, which you can check out. But in this video, I am showing you how you can build an AI agent and integrate it within your app, allowing it to access your app data in real time. Because we are living in 2026, and while it is great to see your data visually, it is even better to chat with your data. May it be an e-commerce app letting you find the best products, or a service-related app letting you book appointments quickly, or just a productivity app. Adding an AI agent takes your app to the next level, making things easier for your users. And here the users can also ask it questions regarding the app, regarding app navigation and troubleshooting. So if you're ready, let's get started. And in case you haven't got a chance to watch that tutorial yet, where I had shown you how you can build the app and you're interested in building one, then I will link up the video up here. You can go ahead and watch that video when you have time. We had used Superapp to build the iOS app end-to-end. Superapp is an iOS app builder that lets you build iOS apps without writing code. It's completely fine if you don't know SwiftUI, if you don't understand Xcode, if you don't understand the App Store submission, because Superapp takes care of everything. You just have to describe your app to it and it generates it for you. It generates real SwiftUI code. This is not a prototype. It is real code that is ready to be published on the App Store. So I'll make sure to include the link to Superapp along with that tutorial in the description as well as in the pinned comments for anyone who is interested. Now let's quickly go through the app that we had built last time just to refresh memory, and then we will go ahead and build the AI agent. So here we are on the app. It's called SubTracker, your subscription navigator. Let's click on next. Smart insights and analytics. Take control of spending. Let's click on get started. Then comes the authentication part. So let me sign in. All right, sign in. And we're in. So this is the home page or the home tab of the app, which acts as a dashboard for all of your subscriptions. You can check your monthly spendings, even yearly. You can check how many subscriptions are live. You can check spending by category, any upcoming renewals. Then comes the subscriptions tab, where you can have a look at all your subscriptions. You can edit them if needed and obviously filter them. And also you can sort them by price or renewal. Next is this button that lets you add new subscriptions, give it a name, give it a price, a few more details, and that's it. And then the Insights tab, which is for data visualization, which has some more statistics, monthly, yearly, and the profile. And we also have notifications, which basically send you notification before upcoming renewals, so that you don't end up spending money on unnecessary subscriptions. So this is what we had built. And as I said in the beginning, while it is great to see your data visually, it would have been even better if we could chat with it. Because see, AI agents should not just be limited to websites wherein you have it as a small widget on the corner. It is high time that apps introduce them as well, because the user base is already very comfortable with chat agents like Claude and ChatGPT for their everyday tasks. So having an AI agent within every app becomes important. So let's go ahead and add an AI agent to this app. So let's quickly understand the tech stack before we start building. So as I said in the beginning, we used Superapp to build our iOS app. And for the backend of the app where all the user data is stored, we had used Supabase. So we're using it as a database and also for authentication. It was very straightforward to connect Supabase to our iOS app. All we had to do was give our credentials to Superapp and the connection was made. So for our AI agent to access the user's data, it will be very important that it has access to Supabase, which is where the data is stored. If on the app anyone updates anything, maybe they add a new subscription, they delete one, in real time it is updated inside of Supabase. And if we do connect our AI agent to Supabase, then the AI agent will also have data in real time. So that is the logic. The app and the AI agent both access the same database. And to build our AI agent, we are going to use n8n, which is again a no-code AI agent builder. Just like so, we will be building our AI agent. We will be prompting it, connecting it to the database, and then furthermore connecting it to our app. So I will include the link to n8n in the description in case you have not created an account with n8n. Do use that link to create an account. If you already do, then great, just sign in. And this is the canvas where we will be building our AI agent. In the meantime, let's also log into Supabase. Alright, so here we are. Let me go to database. And this is our database. One for profiles, one for spending history, and the other for subscriptions. For example, let's open this one up. So this is how the data is stored. So if you notice here, every subscription has their own IDs, and then every user has their own ID. So if you look here, both of these are the same. That means that both of these subscriptions basically belong to the same user. And this logic is going to come in very handy when we will be building the AI agent, because it will ensure that we are not mixing up different users' data. This user is only seeing their data, the others are seeing their own respective data. So let's add the first step. Now the first step is always the trigger. This is the event that starts the AI agent. So let's click here. These are the different triggers that we can choose from. Now for AI agents, mostly the trigger is on chat message. So this trigger basically opens up a chat window. But our use case is a bit different. We would like to integrate with our iOS app. We basically need a method to send data from our iOS app to our AI agent and back to the iOS app. And to enable that communication, we will have to use this trigger, which is called onWebhook call. So this trigger basically gives you a URL. Now this URL is your gateway between your app and the AI agent. The app can send data to this URL, which will be caught by the AI agent, and it can also respond back using the same URL. One thing we will have to do is change the HTTP method to post, because we will be posting data from our app to our AI agent. This data is basically going to be what the user had written in the chat and the user ID. Then here, if you want, you can change the path of this URL, though it's not necessary, but we could still have something like iOS app AI agent. We do not require authentication as of now. And for the respond method, we are going to choose using respond to Webhook, because we also want to send the AI agent's reply back to the app. So we are going to respond back. And after this comes our AI agent. So there is this module inside n8n that easily lets you spin up an AI agent. You can easily add a system prompt. You can easily connect it to several tools and actions. You can give it memory. You can give it a chat model, and you're good to go. There's no need to write a Python script to build an AI agent. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a system message. The system message is the prompt for our AI agent that it is going to follow each time. And this one that you're seeing at the top, which is the user message, this is basically the variable prompt, right? For example, what the user had written in the chat or anything that varies each time. This is not the fixed overall prompt that we are going to use. For that, we have the system prompt or the system message. And for any sort of variable information, we have the user message. And for the user message as well, we are going to select define below so that we can easily define the user message. So just as an example, we could say something like user input, which is what the user has typed in the chat. And for now, let me just give the value as hi, which subscriptions are renewing the coming week. So this is just an example we are taking. Later on, we are going to replace it with a variable so that whatever the user has typed in the chat is replaced right here. Now for writing the system prompt, it is up to you if you want to write it yourself, or you can use the help of your favorite LLM model. You can use help of ChatGPT, Claude, or whichever you prefer to help you write the system prompt. You just have to tell it what you want your AI agent to do, and it is going to give you a system prompt that we can add in here. So you can start by saying something like this: write a system prompt for my AI agent which lives within my iOS app, helping the user with anything app related. This app is a subscription tracking app called Subtracker. You can replace it with what your app is called and what it does. Furthermore, here you can describe anything and everything you want the AI agent to be able to do. So here are the 3 points, or you can say 3 features that I have mentioned. So first is it must help the user with app navigation, any sort of troubleshooting or any questions that they might have. It should be able to access the user's data through Supabase to answer questions regarding their data in the app. It must guide them to save money on subscriptions, how to smartly manage them, help them identify subscriptions which need to be cancelled, list subscriptions renewing soon, and overall act as a subscription assistant. So you can keep on adding more points and you can tell it what you would like your AI agent to do. You can also mention its tone, so something like financially smart, to the point, helpful, friendly, polite. So it's up to you, you can change that as well. And here regarding the tools, let's just add that to be added because we haven't set up the tools yet. Once we do set up the tools, we will add information about the tools. Okay, so now let's send this through to Claude or whichever one you like. And let's get the system prompt that we can use for our AI agent. And we got the prompt. So it's saying that you are an in-app AI assistant for Subtracker, an iOS subscription tracking app. You live inside the app and help the users manage their subscriptions, navigate features, troubleshoot issues, and make smarter financial decisions about their recurring expenses. Then we're telling it about its role. We have another section on tone and communication style, which is financially smart, to the point, helpful and friendly, polite, uses plain language, avoids jargons, short responses by default, expand only when the user needs detail. Then we have the core responsibilities about what it should do. For example, help them with app navigation and support, use the available tools to fetch their subscription data from Supabase to answer their queries. Then we have also mentioned the common questions it should handle. For example, total spend, subscriptions renewing in the next 7 days, 14 days, 30 days, most expensive ones, subscriptions by category, unused or rarely used subscriptions, duplicate or overlapping services, free trials about to convert to paid. So it basically tells the AI agent the type of questions it should expect. It is not limited only to these, it can do much more, but we're just giving it a direction. And then we're telling it about subscription optimization. So it should flag cancellation candidates, it should highlight renewals, suggest downgrades, spot overlap, for example, 2 music services, 3 cloud storage plans, then tell them if annual makes more sense or monthly, bundle opportunities. It also has a section on how to use data. So it's telling that always query Supabase first and then cite the numbers, respect privacy, and match the currency which is stored in the user's profile. Do not convert unless asked. Some more rules like don't lecture, don't recommend specific third-party products or alternative services unless you have verified information. Don't perform actions you cannot perform. Be honest about the limits. No financial advice beyond the subscriptions, because it's not an investment advisor or tax consultant or financial planner. Stay in your lane. Then confirm before destructive actions. Then we're telling it the response format, that it has to just respond in plain English. Some examples. And for the tools, we haven't specified it. It is yet to be specified. So this is the prompt that we have got from Claude basically. So based on what we got, I think we got a really nice prompt. So let's go ahead and copy this entire prompt Let's head back here. Let me just go to expression and open it up. Let's get rid of this and let's paste the prompt. Now, while you wouldn't like these hashtags and these asterisks, let me tell you that this is Markdown formatting and this really helps the AI agent. These hashtags basically are for headings. So one hashtag means heading 1, 2 means heading 2. Then these are to make the text bold, right? So while it might not look very clean to you, it looks very, very clean to the AI agent. So kindly don't mess with it or don't remove it if you see it. So that is our system prompt right here. We will modify anything if needed, but for now, let's stick to this and later on we will add the tools. But yes, one thing to note here is that we are telling it that your core responsibility is to help with app navigation and support. But at this point, it knows nothing about the app. Like clearly, it has no idea how many tabs it has, which features it offers. So we need to go ahead and tell it things about the app, like the tabs, the features available, how to use it, some troubleshooting techniques, etc. that it can use to furthermore help the customer or the user. So for that, again, let's go back to Claude. Now this time what we are going to do is we are going to send Claude screenshots of our app for each and every tab, for each and every section. Alright, so here are my screenshots, some good 5-10 screenshots. And here we're just going to tell it that help me write a description about the app, what tabs it has, what features, where what is, and how to access any troubleshooting techniques as well. And let's send it. And we got it. So the app uses 5-tab bottom bar consistent across every screen. Then these are the tabs, and then tab by tab it is telling us about the different sections, etc. For example, at the very top there is a personalized greeting, a bell icon. Then we have similarly for other tabs, then some troubleshooting techniques. If something is off, try these in order. So let's again copy this, and at the very bottom of the prompt let's add another section for app overview and let's paste it. Let me get rid of the extra here and here. So this basically tells it everything about the app because our AI agent does not have eyes as such. So a text description of the app is going to be very, very helpful for it, which basically tells everything. It's your choice if you want to write it yourself or take help of an LLM. And just like we did it for app, I think we should also do it for our database because right now the AI agent does not know how many tables we have, which columns we have, etc. So let's do that. Again, very simple, just head over to database. Here it will show the structure and we just have to download it as a PNG. Let's attach the image here and let's ask it to give a database overview as well. And it has already started writing table 1 profiles. These are the columns. These are the column types. This will come in handy when the AI agent will be retrieving data. So it knows exactly where to look for. So subscriptions, spending history. Okay, so it has also given a troubleshooting section for this, but I don't think we need that. This one is still fine. So let me copy this. And again, we're going to add another section. Let me call it database overview. And let's paste it. I'm going to get rid of the last. First, let's get rid of this extra part here. And then let me get rid of the troubleshooting. All right. This is still fine. And then at the very beginning, let me get rid of this extra line. Okay, it already has the title, so I can get rid of my title. All right, great. So now our AI agent knows what to do, how to do it. It knows about our app as well as our database. We will leave the tools section as is for now. Let's come out of this and you will notice these 3 different plus icons here. So the first one is for a chat model. So this AI agent module is more like a wrapper. Right now it does not have any intelligence. It will get intelligence when we add a chat model to it. You can choose any large language model, may it be Anthropic, may it be OpenAI, Ollama, DeepSeek, Grok, whichever you prefer, and this chat model is going to be the brain of your AI agent. So for the time being, I'm going to go with OpenAI, which is ChatGPT. Okay, so it's saying I can get 100 free OpenAI API credits. Alright, let's claim that. But these are only for these mini models, like GPT-5 mini, GPT-4o mini. I would rather like to use a better model. So let me connect my own OpenAI API key and my own credits so that I can use some better models here. It's completely up to you. If you want, you can use their free credits. That's completely fine. It would work with these models as well. But in terms of performance, I think choosing a higher model would be better because we're dealing with real data, real numbers. We need reasoning, tool calling capabilities. So hence, I'm not going to go with these. So what we're going to do is we're going to head over to openai.com. So in order to access OpenAI's or ChatGPT's LLM models intelligence out of ChatGPT, we have to go with their API. So just create an account here. Then head over to settings and then API keys. Create a new one. You can call it whatever. Let's select the project. You can select the default one if you don't have one and create the API key. Copy that, create new and paste it right here and click on save. That will connect your OpenAI account to n8n. Another thing you will have to do is go to billing and add credit balance here. So about $5 to $10 should be good as a starting point. And any usage that we do will be deducted from this credit balance right here. So it's more of a pay as you go method. And now we can choose whichever model we want. So let me go with 5.2. Alright. So that is done. Next up, we need to add memory. So the memory is important so that the AI agent does not think of every new message as a new chat. We don't want it to forget the previous messages or the previous context. So for setting up memory for your AI agent, so here as well, as you can see, memory allows an AI model to remember and reference past interactions with it. Alright, so now here you can either just go with simple memory, which is the easiest way to give your AI agent memory. And the other options are to connect it to an actual database. Now in production, connecting it to an actual database is recommended if you have a large user base. And since we already have a database in place, I think this is the option to go with. So now out of these four, we are going to go with Postgres. Now while the name says Postgres, it is actually going to be Supabase itself. Our memory is going to be stored in Supabase. Actually, Supabase is a wrapper on top of Postgres. So let's select this. The first thing we have to do is set up our credentials. So for finding the credentials, we're going to come back to Supabase and here we are going to click on Connect. And then we are going to select Direct and within Direct, we are going to select Transaction Pooler. And right here, we will find all that we need. So first up, the host. So let's paste that. Then the database is called Postgres, which is the same. The user is different, so let's change that. The port is also different, so let's change that here. And the last thing we have to fill in is our password. Now, if you don't remember your password just like me, then in that same database section, just go to settings. And from here, we can reset the password. And let's add the new password here and save. If it is showing connection tested successfully, then that means you have filled out everything correctly. So now your Supabase as well as n8n account have been connected to one another. Please don't get confused when you see Postgres here. It's the same thing. For the context window length, let's change this to 15 or perhaps 20. So this is basically how many past interactions the model receives as context. So how many past messages does it remember? So 20 I think is good. Session ID we will be configuring. So that is our memory setup right there. And before we go ahead and test our AI agent, let's also add the tools so that it can easily access the data from the database. So talking about the tools, my idea is simple. We are going to have 3 different tools, one tool for each table. So in our database, we have 3 different tables: profiles, spending history, and subscriptions. So one tool for each table. And it is up to the AI agent if it wants to query just the first table, if it wants to query 2 of them or all of them. It depends on the user's request. Accordingly, it can get the data from whichever table it wants. And for the tool, we are going to search for Supabase and we will select Supabase tool. First, let's set up credential. So let's find this from Supabase. Let's add it here. So we're going to go to project settings and then click on data API, which will give you the URL, which we paste here. And then for the role secret, let's go back to the API keys and let's copy the secret key and paste it here. Save it and it's done. All right. And now we can set up the rest of the tools. So first let's select get many rows as the operation because we want to get the rows. For the table, let's start with profiles, which is the top one here. Now for the profiles, the limit should be 1 because there is one profile per user, right? For the filter, let's go with string, which means we have to type out the filter, or you can say type out the query. And then we are going to select this icon. And what that will do is it will get the AI agent to fill out this field, meaning the AI agent is going to write the filter each time. But we can add a description here, which is basically like an instruction to the AI agent on how to write this particular field or this filter. So let's say query using the ID. I think that's all for now for the description. And now we can set an overall tool name. So let's say query profiles. So this becomes our tool name, and then we can set our tool description. So here's the description I have. So in the description, I'm saying fetches the authenticated user's profile information, including the display name, the preferred currency, avatar, and account creation date. Use this tool at the start of conversations for personalizations, like for knowing their name, or whenever you need to format amounts in the user's preferred currency. So if it wants to know their name or the currency they prefer, then it can use this particular tool. This returns a single profile record. So in that particular tool description, you basically have to tell it that what does this tool do. For example, in this case, it fetches this data. Then we have to tell it when should you call it. So here I'm telling it maybe at the start of conversations for personalization, or whenever you need to understand the currency they want to use. And then you can obviously add anything else you want it to know for that particular tool. So that tool will help our AI agent go into this table and fetch these details. Let me also give it an example here. For example, ID equals to EQ dot and whatever is their ID, user ID. I don't know. Something like this. So this is how filters are basically written. ID is our column name, which is this one. And then here's the filter. EQ dot the actual user ID they have. Now, if you want this to be more controlled, what you can do is instead of getting the AI agent to write the filter, you can basically write the filter on your own and just change the user ID to a variable so that whatever user ID they have, it gets auto-populated. And that way the AI agent cannot look at other people's user ID. So that is also an option. But I want the AI agent to have full capabilities to look into that particular table. Alright, so that is about the profile. Now what we can do is we can duplicate this for the other tables. So that should be quick. The next table is spending underscore history. So query spending underscore history. For the description, I'm saying use this to fetch all the active non-archived subscriptions for the user. This returns their name, price, currency, billing cycle, blah, blah, blah. Use this tool when the user asks about their subscriptions, what they are paying for, monthly, yearly costs, subscription categories, unused subscriptions, or wants a full list of the services. This is the primary tool for most subscription related questions. And then out here, we are going to change the table to spending history, and we are going to change this to return all the rows that are found. For this one, instead of query using the ID, I would say query using the user ID. Let's remove the example, and let me also tell it to filter the rows where the status is active and the subscriptions are non-archived. Okay, so that's all about the spending history. And then let's duplicate this for the last table, which is subscriptions. So query underscore subscriptions. And then here's the description, which is similar to the last one. Use this to fetch the subscriptions that will renew or will be billed in the next 30 days. Returns this, this, and this. Use this when the users ask about the upcoming charges. Also useful for alerting the users about important renewals. Then we change the table, return all, and query using the user ID. That's correct. Status should be active and it shouldn't be archived. So this description remains the same. And that right there are all the 3 tools that we want our AI agent to have to access our database. And all of these tools are reading information, they're not writing or updating information. So let's go back to our AI agent prompt. Let's head over to the tools section right here and let's mention all the 3 tools it has. So the first one is query profiles, then we have query spending histories and query subscriptions. And here we have to give a description of all of these tools to the AI agent. So we can just copy the descriptions we had written here. Alright, something like this. Now I'll make sure that I give you access to this entire prompt. You can look for this in the description. And that right there completes our AI agent prompt, at least for now. If needed, we can make any changes later on. And these are the tools we have. This is the memory and here's OpenAI. Now another thing to note is that in this user message, I told you that we have to add the variable information. So one more thing to add is user ID, because this is different for each user. For now, let me just put any value, but then this will be replaced by the user ID of the user that is chatting with the AI agent. And this is going to come from our iOS app, from Superapp. So basically both of these are going to come from that request, which is what they typed in the chat, what is their question or message or input. And this is basically the user ID. So this webhook right here is going to return both of them. And the other thing we have to do is in the chat memory as well, we have to define the session ID. So basically this is an identifier that tells it that, okay, these messages are associated with this ID. These ones are associated with that ID. And I think the best one here could be the user ID. So any message that is coming by that particular key is in that same container, in that same chat. If this user ID changes, it is treated as another chat, as another user. Even after 3 months, if that same user types in the chat, it will be able to identify its previous messages because of their user ID. So in simpler terms, it is going to use their user ID to identify which message is coming from whom. And let's tidy it up. Awesome. And lastly, let's add the respond to webhook node, which is going to send this data back to our iOS app. So now it's finally the time to test our AI agent that we have been building for so long. So let's do some testing to ensure that the tools are working fine and it's retrieving the data correctly. And then we will integrate our AI agent into the iOS app. So to test the AI agent within n8n, we need 2 different things. The first is an input or a question, which we already have right here under user message, which says, hi, which subscriptions are renewing the coming week? So if you want, you can change this, but we will be using this to test the AI agent. And the second thing we need is a user ID. This is just made up. We need an actual user ID. So coming back to Supabase, I am within the subscriptions table. So I'm just going to pick a user ID. So let's pick one that has multiple subscriptions. Okay, so this one, 486F, this one has about 3 of these records, meaning it has 3 subscriptions. So let's choose this one. And let me paste it here. And we will also have to change that in the chat memory, which is right here. And that is all we need to test. I am just going to remove these connections for now for testing. And instead of this trigger, we will have to add another trigger, which is called trigger manually. It is for testing purposes. This one right here. Okay. And since in the user input, we are saying things like coming week, coming month, it must know the current date and time. For example, if today's date is the 20th of April, it must be able to calculate which dates are there in the coming week and accordingly filter the subscriptions which are renewing in the coming week. So to let the AI agent know the current date and time, firstly, just go to expression and open this up. Then here we are going to add current date/time. And n8n basically has a variable. You just have to put 2 curly braces and then select now. And this variable right there tells us the current date and time. So now the AI agent knows that, okay, today's date is this, and I have to filter the subscriptions in the coming week, which are these dates. And coming back to Supabase, so for this particular user, this subscription is renewing on the 23rd of April. So that qualifies as an answer. And for these ones, And these are dated in March. Okay, so if we do ask this question that which subscriptions are renewing in the coming week, then the answer that we should get is Netflix, which is for $10 a month right here, and it is renewing on the 23rd of April, which is in the coming week. So now let me just execute the workflow. So you can either click this orange button or you can click this one, doesn't matter. And it is running the tool. And we got the answer. So it is saying in the coming 7 days, you have one subscription renewing, which is Netflix, $10 a month on April 23rd, 2026. Nothing else is due in the next week. So that means that this is working. All fine. Let me do another test. So I will just remove this and let me ask it, how can I add a new subscription and how can I filter them? Okay, so this is more of an app related question. So let's see how it responds here. Okay, so to add a new subscription, tap the plus add button in the center. Okay, enter the name, the price, all of these details. All right, and to filter and sort, open the subscriptions tab and tap on the category chips at the top. All right, so this was a good one and I think we are good. The initial tests went well and we can now integrate it with our iOS app. If anything needs tweaking, we can do that later on. For now, we are good to integrate. So let me remove this extra test trigger and let's connect them back. So to integrate the AI agent in our iOS app, we are going to go back to Superapp. To access Superapp, you have to download it in your Mac. As I said, the link is in the description. So I'm within Superapp and this was the last project we were working on, where we had essentially built this app from scratch and we did all of this process to get that app up and running. You can watch the last tutorial to check that out. And now continuing here, I'm going to tell it that I would like to introduce an AI agent in my app. On the home page, near the notifications, I would like to add an icon that opens up the AI agent. Now it's your call if you want to add AI agent as a tab on your app or if you want to add it, let's say, as a button where people can click and access it. So just like I have one for notifications, I'm adding another icon for AI agent, and when they click on it, it opens it up on their screen. Then I've said the AI agent is called Tracky, you can call it whatever you want, and it is consistent with the overall app branding. Then I've said that the interface should be a chat interface where the users can easily type in their input and receive output from the AI agent. Then I'm telling it about our n8n setup. So I've said in terms of the backend, you have to send a request with the user input and user ID to the webhook URL to receive a response from the AI agent that will then be displayed in the chat. So now let's grab the webhook URL. So for now, we're going to grab the test URL. Let me paste it here. And before request, let me just type in a post request because it requires a post request. And this is the URL it has to make the request to, and it has to send the user input and the user ID. So let's send it through. Let's first work on getting the functionality in place, and then we will work on the UI of the chat. And let me send it. And it has started doing the job. It is first reading the files we already have, and then it will be adding more files and adding the real SwiftUI code. So it's saying that the Tracky AI agent has been added. So let's see. So let me first log in. And yes, it has been added right here. So let's click on this. Tracky, your subscription AI. Hi, I'm Tracky. Ask me anything about your subscriptions. I can help you track spending, spot waste, and save money. And then we have a few conversation starters that people can click on to start the conversation. And here's the place where they can type. All right, so that is nice. Now, if I click on one of these or if I type something, it is going to send a request to n8n. And because we're doing it for the first time using the test webhook URL, we will have to actually turn on our automation there and then send a message here so that it is able to catch that request in n8n. Because right now our automation is not live. So for that, I will go to the first module, which is Webhook, and I will click on listen for test event, okay? Because it is a test URL that we're using. And now let me send one of these. It's not going to work right now because it hasn't been set up completely. So let me click on this. So now let's go back to n8n, and we got the request. So right here in the request, we got the user ID and the user input. So now we can go to our AI agent. We can remove this test question that we had set up earlier. And from here, I'm going to drag and drop the user input variable here from the left. So this will basically be replaced by whatever the user has typed in the chat. For example, in this case, it is which subscriptions might be wasteful, okay? Same thing with user ID. So we are going to drag and drop the one we got from our app, which is this one. And we also have to do this in the Postgres chat memory. So here, the key that we're going to use is their user ID, so that the chat memory is linked to their user ID. So now we are good in terms of n8n, and we can finally publish it. All right. And then instead of the test URL, we can now switch to the production URL. So coming back here, I'm going to say, great job. Please replace the test URL, or please replace the webhook URL with this one, which is now our final production URL. The test one is needed in the very beginning to do the connection, but then we can easily switch. So let me send this. So that is done as well. And now let's finally test it. So again, let me send this one. All right, it is loading and we got a response. So the n8n connection is working fine. So this week you have no renewals. Next up you have Prime, you have Spotify, you have Claude, and it already knows the dates, which is very nice, 20 to 26. All right, want me to show only the ones due in the next 7 days? All right. So now I'm going to do a quick test to ensure the memory is working fine. So let me ask it, what was my last question? So if it is able to tell me my last question, then that means all my messages are in a single container for the AI agent and it is able to check the memory. Yes. So it was able to tell me that my last question was what's renewing this week. Great. Now one thing here is that we have these asterisks right here. So basically the AI agent from n8n is returning Markdown formatting. So we will have to ask Superapp to ensure that this Markdown formatting is taken care of, so that instead of these asterisks, we actually have the bolded text. When the AI agent sends these two asterisks before and after a text, it means that it wants to bold that text, okay? So let's set that up. So let me tell it that it's working now. The AI agent is returning responses in Markdown format. Example, adding this for boldness, and similarly other formattings. So kindly ensure that they are correctly formatted when displayed to the user. And here, if you see, it has also given us suggestions about the next steps that you might consider. For example, test a chat in Tracky to confirm the live webhook response correctly, which we have done. Add conversation history persistence so that the chats are saved between sessions. So yeah, we can do that. Add conversation history persistence so that even when they open the app later on, they're able to see their chat history. And the next one is set up proactive Tracky suggestions that are triggered by upcoming renewals. We don't need this because we already have notifications in place, so that is not needed. So let me send this so that the formatting is corrected and conversation history persists even when they change the session or close the app. So it has fixed the Markdown rendering, it has set up the conversation persistence, and it has also added a clear history button, which is a trash icon that lets you wipe the conversation. So that's really nice. Let's go back here. And this time let me select this one, which is which subscriptions might be wasteful. I really like the way it loads the conversation. Okay, so we got a response. Now this time it has bolded the text, which is nice. The small issue is that we don't have any line breaks, right? It's like all in one paragraph. So we have to fix that. Let's look at the answer. So you have Prime, you have Claude, you have Spotify. So it's saying the biggest waste is Prime right now. Okay, so let me see. Yeah, so it got the correct subscriptions from my app, and the reason it is giving is that if you're not using it weekly, it's the fastest win because Claude is marked as important. Spotify is usually fine but wasteful if you mostly listen to free options. Alright, so the data is correct. The reasoning is also quite correct. I wouldn't say it's wrong. So let's fix the line breaks maybe, and let me test this clear history button. So let me delete this. Okay, that worked. That's nice. So I told it that Markdown is rendering properly, which is the boldness, etc. But I can't see any line breaks or bullet points. So please fix that. And let's see what else it is recommending. So per session history, which is group the messages by date. Okay, so you can group the messages by date. Alright. Proactive suggestions we don't want. Sync the history to Supabase we don't want. We already have that inside of n8n. So let me send this. Okay, so that seems to be done. So let me test it again. And this time we will go with the first option so that we have basically tested all of these. Yeah, so now it's also showing today at the very top. So it has added date grouping. Alright, so yeah, now it looks clean. Looks good. Okay, so let me ask it, when is Claude renewing? Claude is set to renew on April 28th, which is in 8 days for 20 a month. Let me ask it, should I cancel it? Canceling Claude makes sense if you're not getting clear weekly value from it, otherwise keep it. Cancel or pause if you've used it less than 3 to 4 times in the last month or you mostly use another AI tool. Keep it if it saves you time regularly and you would miss it. So money impact, cancelling saves $240 an year. If you tell me how often you used Claude in the last 30 days and what you use it for, I'll give you a clear yes or no. So let me say, I use it for writing blog posts, mostly once or twice a week. And then let's see what it says. So it's saying keep it for now. Using it 1 to 2 times a week is solid, real usage, and $20 a month is usually worth it if it meaningfully speeds up writing or improves quality. Okay, so that is nice. Let me start another one. And this time, instead of choosing one of these, let me directly type. Okay, hi Yashica. And see, it already knows my name, hi Yashica. And that is because my name is there in the profiles table. So what do you want to tackle right now? Upcoming renewals, cutting spend, or keeping your subscription list up to date? So this time, let me update some data because right now we're only dealing with 3 subscriptions. So let me do OpenAI, which is another 20 a month, renews this week maybe. AI tools, and okay, let's add one more. Let me call it Apple Music. Let's do a heavy price. Let's do 50, which is monthly. So now we have 5 active subscriptions. So now if you see here, Claude and OpenAI are in the same category, AI tools. Apple Music and Spotify is in the same category, which is music. So going back, let me tell it that I think I'm spending a lot of money on these subscriptions. Which one should I get rid of? So here we only have 5 subscriptions, but people generally have 15, 20. So the AI agent can look through all of them and suggest. Okay, so it's saying you're at $125 a month across 5. So yeah, the database did update. So that's nice. You already pay for Spotify. So this is the clearest overlap. Canceling this is going to save you $50 a month, which is $600 a year. Then next ones are OpenAI or Claude, again in the same category, that's why. And Prime, keep only if you use the shipping or streaming benefits regularly. Alright, so yes, the data did update itself. Let me just say cool, thanks. I'll cancel Apple Music. Okay, good call. And 2 quick steps: cancel the actual subscription where you have billed, and then in Subtracker, mark it so that your totals drop. Alright, let me ask you a question regarding the app. How do I change my currency to INR? Yep, so go to profile, then currency, and then select INR. Alright, so that turned out to be pretty nice. And with that, we have successfully added an AI agent to our iOS app without writing a single line of code, thanks to Superapp. If you have any app idea in mind that you would like to turn to reality, do not forget to check out Superapp. We have already seen how smoothly it works and how well it performs. The link is in the description. So if you found this video valuable, if you were able to learn something new and build something new, then don't forget to like the video and do subscribe to the channel. My YouTube analytics tell me that there's a huge gap between the people who have subscribed and not subscribed. The not subscribed ones are in majority. So please subscribe to the channel so that you know every time I post a video. And do turn on the bell notification. If there's something else you would want me to cover in my future videos, do let me know. If you're interested in working with us and getting your business automated using AI, then don't forget to check out the link to our website in the description. We can help you set up AI agents, AI workflows, AI voice agents, and much more. We help from everything strategy to execution. You'll find more details on our website. You can also find the link to my consulting calendar in the description if you would like to get on a one-on-one call with me. So yeah, we're now going to wrap up. If you want to connect with me personally, do follow me on LinkedIn, send me a connection request there, and don't forget to follow me on X. So yeah, that is pretty much it for this video. I will meet you in the next one. Till then, bye!